I made my own Spider-Man mask with moving lenses, just like the ones in Tom Holland's movies. And because of the new movie, Spider-Man Brand New Day, I decided to make my own mask again to see if I could finally make a successful one after so many attempts throughout the years. So sit back, relax, and let me show you the process of making this mask. Yeah, I'll be wearing this mask for the entire video because I'm really proud of how well this thing works. It's not perfect, and it's not totally accurate to the movie, for now, which I'll talk about later. Hey everyone! So for as long as I can remember, Spider-Man has been one of my favorite superheroes. I had a Spider-Man costume when I was like 3 years old, and throughout the years, I've made quite a few Spider-Man masks. Well, some of them turned out alright, but what I've been trying to achieve all these years is making a good Spider-Man moving lens mechanism. And man, that has been a challenge. You see, making the lenses move smoothly and flawlessly is really hard to achieve. I have to design a lens mechanism that has a wide range of motion, which means little to no friction is a must. It also can take up too much space because, this thing has to be wearable. It has to be comfortable, functional, and still look decent and proportionate to the mask. So I'm going to tackle all of the things I've learned throughout the years of trial and error. Well, mostly error. First, the 3D modeling stage. I use Blender to design my own facial and outer lenses. Years ago, I made my No Way Home Final Swing mask, which also had moving lenses. So I started by reusing the 3D model and kind of liquefying it until it somewhat resembled the head shape of the Brand New Day mask. I actually enjoy designing all these holes look somewhat aesthetic, even though no one's ever going to see them because I'll be putting the fabric over the whole thing anyway. In case you're wondering, putting holes in the facial is actually really important for breathability and airflow. Wearing a mask like this can get really hot, and you definitely don't want to suffocate while being Spider-Man. But I got way ahead of myself when designing these holes because I completely forgot that I'll be attaching the moving mechanisms to some of these spots, and that decision will definitely come back to bite me later. For the lenses, I trimmed down the layers to make them thinner. This allows more room for the inner lens mechanism to show up and do its thing. It took me around 3 days to redesign the whole thing until I am satisfied. Once I was happy with the design, I sliced the facial into 3 parts because my 3D printer, my good old Ender 3 V2, can print something this large in one piece. Then I hit print and waited. So while waiting, I decided to draw, Spider-Man. So here's a quick time lapse. Then bam! So after 2 days of waiting for the print to finish, I sanded down any imperfections so there wouldn't be anything that could scratch my face. Then I assembled everything using super glue and sanded it again to smooth out the seams. The next step was totally optional, but I decided to spray paint the whole thing matte black because I like my stuff looking nice and neat, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of how this facial turned out. Now, the main event. Making the moving lenses. This part of the process, even though I've already made something similar in the past, took a lot of trial and error, like a month. A whole month just to make this thing work. Because like I said in the beginning, it has to be flawless, frictionless, look good, have minimal gaps, and all of those things have to work together. And man, that was tough to achieve. At first, I thought making this Brand New Day moving lens wouldn't take me that long because I've already made my No Way Home mask, which has a pretty similar head shape and lens design. So I thought I could just reuse the same lens mechanism for this one, but no. And then that's when I decided to go back to the start and redesign the entire lens mechanism. And yeah, it only took me 3 days to come up with a completely new mechanism that actually worked and check all the requirements I had for this project. Then hit print again. While waiting for the prints to finish, I draw again to keep the momentum going. So here's another time lapse of Spidey. Let's go! I was both exhausted and happy because after a whole month of being stuck on the lens mechanism only, I could finally move on to the next step. Electronics. Once I solved the lens mechanism, I move on to attaching all the electronic components. We've got an Arduino Nano, 2 MG90s Servos, a limit switch, a buck converter, and a battery. This part could take a while to explain, so I'll keep it short and just highlight the important stuff. The Arduino Nano basically acts as the brain of the whole mechanism. We can upload code to it, and it controls all the other components. And then we have the two servos. One control each eye. And this little guy right here is the buck converter. This was actually my first time using one, and it's one of the most important components in this project. You see, these MG90s Servos need the right amount of voltage to work properly. Around 5 to 6 volts. Too little voltage, and the servos won't behave properly. Add too much, and they can overheat and eventually get damaged. And I realized that this was actually one of the problems with my previous attempt because my servos kept overheating. Yeah. For the battery, choosing the right battery is also crucial, and that's why I chose this 14500 3.7 volts lithium-ion battery. Yeah, the name of the battery is really something. Using two of them gives me around 7.4 volts, which is too much for the servos, and that's where the buck converter comes in. It steps down the voltage from the battery to a safer level for the servos. I also chose this type of battery because it's basically the same size as an AA battery but with a higher voltage. For the initial test, I uploaded a simple program that makes the servos rotate from 0 to 180 degrees whenever I press the limit switch. I'll fine-tune the code later once I figure out the best placement for all of these electronic components inside the mask. And this is the time that I'll tackle the holes of the facial. I put too much, especially on the forehead part of the facial, and this is when I forgot that I should have not put those holes because those are the spots that my mechanism will move, and with those holes being there, they're gonna get stuck. So I closed the holes, man. I closed them. That's very unnecessary. And once that's done, I did a quick draw again of a guy with a red and blue spandex. Draw him again cause why not? The next step, yay! Making the fabric template. Now, there are a ton of existing Spider-Man fabric templates out there, and I could have just used one of them, but I decided to make my own. The reason is that most of those templates are designed to fit snugly around a relatively slim facial. Mine is a little different because of all the bulky components I have to fit inside the mask. Good thing, I already have my own mannequin head that's scaled to roughly the same size as my actual head. With this, the process is much easier, and I was actually really excited for this next step because of how easy and satisfying it is. And honestly, it was also pretty refreshing after being stuck on the same task for an entire month. First, I put the facial with all the components inside onto the mannequin. Then I wrapped the entire thing in plastic wrap. After that, I started putting big pieces of masking tape all over it so the tape would retain the shape of the mask. And now comes the fun part. I sketched out the web lines and tried my best to replicate their exact placement from the new suit. Well, I tried. The next part was a little tricky though. After cutting the plastic tape template off the mannequin, I had to transfer it into a flat paper pattern. And this is where I think I messed up a little because some of the web lines didn't line up exactly the way I wanted them to. But surprisingly, the overall fit was pretty nice. For the first test, I immediately traced the first version of the pattern onto the fabric. This was only a fit test, so I didn't really prioritize making the web lines perfectly accurate. It was only after I assembled and stitched the fabric together that I noticed all the inaccuracies that I needed to fix for the next version of this template. And yeah, I drew Spider-Man again, but this time with Hulk. I drew this by the time that the official trailer came out. I tried to draw as realistic as I can, and guess what? I did not finish this artwork this time. I bit more than I can chew. And even after a month has passed, this artwork is still not finished. By the time I started making the second version of the pattern, Spider-Man Brand New Day had already come out, so I didn't have enough time to properly polish the fabric because I wanted to bring the mask with me when I watched the movie. So I rushed the version 2 of the fabric mask, and this was the version where I finally applied Puffy paint for the web lines. Man, using Puffy paint is probably my least favorite part of making a Spider-Man mask. It takes so much patience, and even though I was doing my best to keep the lines clean, I still messed up pretty badly. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal because the moving lenses are gonna hide most of those mistakes anyway. And finally, to wrap everything up, I work on polishing the Arduino code to give the mask different lens movements. I use the one button system because it's perfect for this kind of project. You can assign multiple commands to a single button depending on how many times you click it and how long you hold it. One click, serious mode. One click again, fully open. Double click, wink. Double click again, the other eye. Hold for 3 seconds, close both eyes. And then one tap, fully open again. It is really cool to see this thing works. And after all those months of trial and error, I finally had a working Spider-Man mask. I watched the movie while bringing my mask with me, and I would say, mission success. Yeah. You know, I only got a few recordings of myself wearing this at the mall because I'm actually really shy and embarrassed. There's a lot of people around me, and I was only at one spot on these clips, as you can see. Yeah, I don't have a lot of clips at that time. My battery also drained, so there's that. Just to be clear though, I watched the movie wearing my glasses, not the mask. The movie is very nice though. I like the movie, and it's probably one of the best Tom Holland's film. Yeah, I would say that. And now that this version of the mask is finally done, let me introduce you to the moving lenses version 2. Yay! Yippee! Let's go! I've already designed a new version, and as you can see, the design is quite different from the one I'm wearing right now. For starters, the head shape is much more accurate to the one from the movie. It's rounder, unlike my current mask, which is a little more elongated. Yeah, I also removed some of the unnecessary holes. Yes sir, added my custom Spider Gibby logo, and honestly, it looks pretty cool. It also has bigger eyes, which is also accurate. And of course, moving lenses. For this next version, I really want to improve the quality of the fabric mask as well. I really want to try using the screen printing method for the web lines and also the brick pattern. I mean, I've already bought almost all the equipment I needed for that. I'm just missing the actual large screen printing frames that are big enough to fit the pattern. And you know what? I actually tried to make my own big screen printing frame. I thought I was being smart by getting these canvas painting frames because they have these cool, easy to assemble parts that basically work like Lego. I bought the biggest size available, but even that still wasn't quite large enough. And since screen printing requires like around 2-inch margin around the design, I decided to 3D print my own extensions that mimic the same easy to assemble connection system. And surprisingly, it worked. I was feeling smart, I was feeling great at that time, you know. I got the exact frame size I wanted, attached the silk fabric using a staple gun, and it really hit me. As soon as I stretched and stapled the silk fabric onto the frame, the whole thing started deforming. Instead of staying nice and square, the frame became all wonky. It literally looked like an italic letter. Yeah, I failed on that part. Apparently, screen printing requires a solid and rigid frame that can withstand the tension of the fabric without bending or warping. Yeah, I need some funds if I want to keep improving this project. Speaking of the fabric, I also improved the fabric template, and I think this is finally the one. I corrected the placement of the web lines while still making sure the whole thing fits my head properly. Hopefully. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because I really enjoyed making it. If you did, hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on to the next one. Yes sir, I'm a YouTuber now. Oh. And of course, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you guys think about the mask, the video, or even the whole process. I've got a lot more things I want to improve with this project, so hopefully, you guys will stick around for the next version. That's it for me. Peace out, guys. Bam bam bam. Oh, are you guys curious on these figures behind me? Yeah. If you guys know who this character is, they're the same character by the way. Comment down below. Yes sir.
Ginagawa mo?